Good morning. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Kostina. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, no fancy stuff going on here. And if you wait till the end of the video, I will give you a sneak peek at a future sci-fi unboxing. I recently got 7 boxes, 5 of which were 100% sci-fi mass markets. Several different authors, but there was a whole bunch, like a series, like 12, 15 of each of these authors, and then there was a couple of smaller ones. So I thought if you'd like a sneak peek at that unboxing, please wait till the end. We are on our season 7, disc 3 of Star Trek Next Generation recap. We've only got a few more weeks left, and then we're on to Voyager. And if I could figure out how to I can't do it, but I love the Voyager theme. It's whatever. I'm not even close. I know it. So, we are on Inheritance, episode 262. What is going on here? We get I've got a really bad sinus drip today. Inheritance. We get a little bit of a voiceover. Captain Stardate 47410.2. The Antarian government has requested assistance in averting a natural disaster. 2 of their geologists have come aboard, one of whom is a human who has been living on a tree of 4. What's this all about? So this lady is talking to the captain and Geordi and Data. She's saying, our situation has worsened since my husband and I first contacted you. The molten core of our planet is not just cooling, it's beginning to solidify. Let's see if we can get some more people in here. Our gravitational field has been affected by seismic activity, has increased by a factor of 3. If the cooling continues at this rate, a trio will become uninhabitable in 13 months. Purity says we could minimize seismic activity by creating an isobaric figures, relieving some of the tectonic stress, but that would just be a temporary fix. The only permanent solution would be to liquefy the core. These pockets in the magnet layer, how close are they to the molten region of the core? A few kilometers. Why? Data says, do you think that's close enough for a ferroplasmic infusion? The procedure would involve the ship's phasers to drill down through the planet's surface into pockets, where we would set up a series of plasma infusions. We'll trigger the units by firing modulated energy bursts down through the shaft. I see. Injecting sufficient plasma directly into the core should trigger a chain reaction that would reliquefy the magma. It should be possible, but you don't know. You don't know. There's a chance of anything going on, and with these particular situations, it isn't a quick fix because it's a beginning of something else, a more bigger thing. We got to do a small little problem, and then we got to do it fixed temporarily, and then something else happens and it's a bigger problem, and that's our bigger arching story, and then we have a resolution at the end, but we got to start with a little kernel of something in the beginning. So that's how we spend the first part of the thing until I keep waiting for them to pull back so I get a 2-shot, and I'm not going to get it. Star Trek drives me crazy with that. You talk your face. You talk your face. You talk your face. Could we not see both people at the same time? So she approaches Data after the meeting. Do you have any idea who I am? Yes, you are Dr. Julian Tanner. You lost all your early memories. We thought you would, but we wouldn't be certain. Have we met before? Oh, Data, I was there right at the beginning on Omicron Theta. I helped create you. You were a colleague of Dr. Sung? Yes, I certainly was. I was also his wife in a way. I suppose I could say I'm your mother. Oh, okay. Okay, so now we're in the observation lounge having a convo. I still can't believe I'm seeing you like this again. After all these years, Doctor, I have no memory of you. Oh, there's a reason for that. We wiped your processes after we finished refining your programming. Why don't you tell me what you do remember, and then I'll fill in the gaps. My memory record begins when I was activated on Starfleet officers on Omicron Theta Outpost. After the attack of the crystalline entity, yes. All of the inhabitants of the colony were killed. However, I discovered that my memory banks contained the contents of their journals and logs. We hoped their experiences would be helpful. After your childhood, we figured you could use all the help you could get. My childhood? That's what we called it. You were like a baby at first, 100-kilogram baby, but still. We still had trouble learning your motor skills, learning how to process sensory information, and of course Noonan was never satisfied. He kept tinkering, trying to make you as human as possible. So you wiped my processes after this childhood. Then we deactivated you and programmed you with the colonist logs. We had planned to activate you, but we never got the chance. That's when the crystalline entity attacked. We had to leave quickly. We wanted to take you with us, but there was only room for 2 in the escape pod. Doctor, I have scanned the journals of the colonists. There is only one Juliana mentioned, and her last name was O'Donnell. That's me, she says. There's no mention that my father was married to you. Because of my mother, she thought that Noonan was an eccentric scientist who was too old for me. We decided to marry secretly to give her a chance to get used to our being together. We slipped away to Malva 4 and got married there. A Klingon and Corvellian trader were our witnesses. It wasn't exactly the wedding I hoped for. Somehow Noonan had a way of even making the oddest things seem romantic. My father did have an unusual way of seeing things. How would you know? I encountered him once in Tyrillia. That's where we went to after the last outpost. I had no idea you'd met him. It was shortly before his death. He's dead? I had no idea it would hit me this hard. We didn't exactly part on the best of terms. What do you mean? I realized he loved his work so much as he loved me, maybe more. So they split up because he loved his work so much. So, what do you do when you get this big revelation? You go talk to your best friend. Data, I'm almost finished reconfiguring the phaser banks. We should be able to start drilling in an hour. Inform me when you are ready. What is it you're doing over there? I'm attempting to ascertain whether Dr. Tanner's story is true. You don't believe her? I neither believe nor doubt. I'm simply attempting to verify her assertions. Well, what have you turned up for? The registrar's office on Malva 4 cannot confirm whether Dr. Sung was married there. Apparently, many of the documents were lost when the government was overthrown. What are you looking at now? I'm checking the passenger manifest to see if they went to Malva in the period in question. O'Donnell, Julian Song, they were both passengers on a transport from Omicron Theta to Malva and returned 4 days later. Somebody is asking for attention. You know, Data, it almost seems to me like you're trying to prove that Dr. Tanner wasn't telling the truth. Not at all. I'm merely unable to reconcile her story with the fact that my father never mentioned her to me. When, sh well, she did leave him. Maybe she broke his heart. Maybe he just didn't want to talk about it. Let me ask you this. Dr. Sung created an emotion chip. Didn't Lord tell you that chip also contained memories? Sung wanted you to have, yes, it's possible, those are memories of my childhood and Mrs. Sung. When you think about it, why would she want to lie? Why would anybody want to pretend to be your mother? I can think of no motive for such a pretense, and I can think this might be a little disconcerting for you, Data. It came out of the blue, and it doesn't fit your logical processes. That's true. But that's life, Data. Part of being human is learning how to deal with the unexpected. Big Brother's coming soon. I hope soon, soon, soon. We'll see what happens. So they meet up again, and she asks Data to call her mother. Good Lord. And then she gets all excited because she's going to go visit Deanna and talk to Deanna about it. I don't get it. And she's thinking that Troy is his physical partner. It's kind of embarrassing. So then they get to the drilling part, and she continues to uh, compliment him on all his manners, um, and adult situations, and it, it's just. And then Pran gets in Riker's face. He wants him to check all Data's calculations. So then they go engineering bridge, engineering bridge, engineering bridge, engineering bridge. I'm not going to go back and forth. So they just start the drilling and start the procedure that they were going to do. Then we're in Data's quarters and she's listening to him playing the violin. And um, they have a good conversation. And he tells her about his daughter that he had created a couple of seasons ago. There's the picture of his daughter. So then they play violin together. So then we are back in engineering again, working on our science project. I've initiated the plasma induction coils. I'll need another minute to align the diverter. There are signs of stress in the surrounding matter, but the site should be remain stable until we finish the plasma infusion. Good, we're almost done. Data Julian told me what she said to you last night. She's been very upset. I don't blame you for being angry with her. I am incapable of anger. It's all right, Pran. I know what I said to you must have been hard to hear, but I hope you understand. I am not certain. Perhaps you wish to clarify them for me? Well, I'll try. What do you want to know? If I had been your biological offspring, would you have left me at Omicron Theta? Oh, Data, how can I answer that? Dr. Trainer, I get the impression you are trying to spare my feelings. I assure you that it's not necessary. I just don't want you to misunderstand. No, I wouldn't have left you behind if you had been my biological child. That is because you place more value on a biological life than an artificial life form. What a conversation to be having in the middle of engineering. So then Data and his mother give a recital. And we see Troy for the first time. So Data has asked Dr. Crusher if he can have access to his mother's medical records. Why do you want to look at Dr. Chayna's medical records? I was hoping you'd be able to determine that from her transporter trace pattern. Well, probably I could, but ordinarily I don't check somebody's medical records without a reason. Doctor, I would ask that you not require me to be more specific. I assure you I have a good reason for asking. All right, Data. At first glance, I see nothing wrong with her except the mild case of hypertension, which is normal for her age. I see. Maybe you could tell me what her symptoms are. She has not complained of any discomfort. Then why do you want to see her medical records? Because I have reason to believe she is not who she claims to be. So there was a little bit of a cave in during their experiment. Um, and Pran is injured. We were running a final check on the infusion users when a part wall gave away. It looks like the area has stabilized, but seismic stress is building up. Eventually, the pocket will collapse. How long, Jordy? Tough to tell. 12 hours at most. So now they got to get him to medical. So then Data and her go back down to fix some stuff down there, and it ends up getting more seismic stuff, and they end up having to leave quickly. And before they get out in time, there's an accident and Juliana gets knocked down. And it turns out she's an android. Data was right. So Jordy and Dr. Crusher are examining her. Basically, she's a Sung type android, except everything about her is designed to fool you into thinking she's human. She's got tear ducts, sweat glands, even veins and capillaries underneath her skin. Why does the scanner read her as human? Because she has a feedback processor designed to send out a false biosignal. It's part of her aging program. Not only does she age in appearance like Data, her vital signs change too. What I can't figure out is why she lost consciousness. As far as I can see, everything is fine. She should be awake. Check her positonic matrix, Data says. That cascade may cause an anomaly. Riker said, "You knew she was android. How?" "The first indication when we were digging, I saw her perform complex calculations without the assistance of a computer. That could have just meant she was good at math. That is true, but it's enough to get my attention. Later, I noticed something odd about the way she blinked her eyes. The intervals between blinks were governed by the Frontier system, the same mathematical formula my father used to give my blinking." Riker's in the room too, and he's talking to Data about this stuff. So then Data goes into the holodeck using the chip Dr. Sung gave him, and he's going to talk to the guy. Whoever you are, you have found out about Juliana. That is correct. I programmed this hologram to answer any questions you might have. I am Noon. I created her. I am Data. Data, I hope somehow it might be you. I even created a response program to answer your questions. How are you by? I am fine. I'm glad you got the chance to meet your mother. You referred to Dr. Tainer as my mother, yet the complexity of her design indicates she created after I was. You're right. There was a real Juliana O'Donnell. She was my wife. She helped me create you. What happened to her? She was injured when the crystalline entity attacked. We made it as far as Terraline 3, but she slipped into a coma. When I realized nothing could be done for her, I built an android. I tried to perfect my synaptic scanning technique so that I could transfer Juliana's memories into a positronic matrix. I didn't know if it would work, but I had to try. I couldn't stand the thought of losing the only woman I ever loved. A few days after Juliana tried, I activated the android, and she looked at me and smiled. She recognized me. It worked. Here was a life not 2 minutes old, and as far as she knew, I was her husband. She just recovered from a terrible injury. It was incredible. Then you never told her the truth? Why? There was no reason for her to know. I wanted her to be happy, and we were. What happened? I never really let her know how much I loved her, so she left me. The real Juliana probably would have left too, if she lived. If she recovers and learns she's an android, she doesn't have to know. I designed her to shut down in the event the truth was discovered. When you put her chip back in, she'll wake up and remember nothing. All you have to do is make up some excuse about what happened to her. Then you don't believe she should know the truth? No. He doesn't want her to know the truth. So then Data sits down with Picard, Dr. Crusher, and Troy, and they discuss his mother's decision. It seems I must make a decision whether to tell Dr. Tainer that she's an android or withhold the information from her. I do not know what to do. Why is Dr. Sung so adamant she not be told? He seems certain that if she knew, it would preclude the possibility of her being happy. Data, what do you think? I am not certain. I understand why my father left it as he did, but his wishes are not necessarily paramount. I am more concerned with what would be best for her. Wouldn't she be better off knowing the truth, dealing with the reality of her existence? I don't think so, Troy said. She's believed she's human all her life. The truth might be devastating to her. Data, there might come a time in the future when she would find out anyway. Accident, perhaps. Maybe it would be easier if she learned the truth from you. I can tell you that if I were in her place, I'd rather be told by my son than some stranger. I am finding difficulties separating what would be best for her from what would be best for me. What do you mean? If she knew she were an android, we would have something to share. I would no longer be alone in the universe. I know how much that means to you, Data, but at the same time, by telling her you're robbing her of the one thing you've always wanted in your life, to be human. That's true. So Data puts the chip back in, and Data doesn't tell her anything that she was injured, and that's basically where the episode ends. She recovers. He tells her that she was the greatest love of his father's life, and makes her all happy. So that is basically the end of the episode. So I hope you will tune in next week for Parallels. And if you uh, would like to see some of the a brief selection of the sci-fi unboxing in a couple of weeks or months, CJ Shirley, Down Below Station. Pell Star occupied the central spot in coming conflict between Earth's tired stellar empire and tough onslaught of the rebellious colonies. Whoever controlled Pell's down below station held the key to Earth's defensive perimeter, or the jumping off point for terrestrial offensive to regain the lost empire. But Pell's has always been neutral and was determined to remain so. This is a powerful, complex, and enthralling novel of interstellar conflict and ambitions. See. Oh, look, it's got a CPM. All right, it's not a CPM. Spaceship. 1981. So this is before Star Trek. Through the Breach, David Drake. They hope to claim the wealth and glory of the galaxy at war. Their mission is called the Venus Asteroid Expedition, but it has little to do with legitimate trade. Their destination is the Mirror, the impenetrable membrane of another universe, a universe that holds all the riches of the Federation, and their only point of entry is Landorf's Breach. 1995. So we're getting into Star Trek field. Uh, Star Wolves. This is a little on the worn side. For 500 centuries, the Star Wolves have battled a despotic space empire, haunting the nightmares of tyrants, yet too vastly outnumbered to win more than an endless stalemate. But now the empire decaying within is ready to launch a desperate master plan to enslave or destroy the space renegades, while a young Star Wolf pilot, Velmer, plans a daring suicide raid to capture the stolen data that might at last lead his people from exile and back to their homeworld. It would be a contest of destiny, passion, and death, played by superpowered champions on a field as vast as space. John Dalmas. It's 1,000 years after World War III, and Earth lies supine beneath the heel of a gang of alien psychopaths who like to torture whole populations for sport. The lizard could not have conquered us in our heyday, but our heyday was long gone when they stumbled upon us in the 16th century level of technology. They found he was relatively easy to squelch. David Drake's Starliner. Finest passenger liner in the galaxy, brightest link in the chain that binds the star-flung civilization of the 23rd century. 6,000 lives in a single hull, trembling through multi-year universes to land on raw, violent worlds, each with its own history and wonder. The Empress of the Earth, neutral pawn in interstellar war. When hostile necessity knows no law, Ran and the rest of the complement of the Empress of Earth must bring home their ship and passengers entrusted to them. From the captain on the bridge to the cold crewmen who work on the conditions they differ from hell only by name. Alan Cole, Fleet of the Damned. Stan's luck was running out. He had barely scraped through Imperial flight school when he was assigned to attack division in the fringe worlds, where the Imperial officers were more concerned with the perfect fit of their dress whites than honing their fighting skills. Michael Z. Williamson, better to beg forgiveness. Seldon, a poor nation on a poor planet engaged in civil war and a haven for every type of villainy in space, is ripe for cleanup. The military could pacify it handily, but it would take a statesman to fix it. But statesmen have ethics which politicians and megacorps find inconvenient. Seldon's President Bishwash, compounded by the sin of being astute, ambitious, and capable, something had to be done because a working nation isn't much use for pork and graft. When the word come down to replace them, the politicians move on with a new plan, reallocating resources and finding a more pliable president to put there. Right. Death's Bright Day, David Drake. Captain Daniel Leary and his friend the spy and Siberian Adele Mundy are settling in what they hope will be a quiet, peacetime existence, but in a distant star system, rebellion is brewing and powerful people want Daniel and Adele to become involved. The Starbell claims that only they can prevent a war between the Republic of Cinnabar and its great rival, the Alliance of Free Stars. The conflict is political, but at the sharp end it means blazing warfare and cold-blooded murder. Daniel and Adele will be the sharp end. The odds are in the enemy's favor, though Daniel, Adele, and the crew of the Princess Cecil will do everything possible. That may not be enough. And even if Daniel and his companions succeed in battle, they can't be sure whether their employers really want them to win or not. Star Wars Battle of the Ring. They were outcasts of Earth, a people living, loving, and dying aboard Senian warships. They were iron-boned warriors of awesome strength and speed, an entire civilization genetically adapted for two goals: to rule the infinite night and to seek revenge. The weapon. Michael Z. Williamson. This has been through a few. Kenneth Shuran was a disaffected youth who joined the military and was recruited for an elite deep cover unit, excelling in training and exercises so tough that several of the recruits did not survive. At the peak of his career, he was sent by the Star Nation to infiltrate fascist military planet Earth. He lived in deep cover for years, marrying and having a daughter. Then the Earth forces attacked his home system, and he and his team came out of hiding, attacking and destroying the infrastructure. Wolf Among the Stars. A near-futuristic Earth has shaken off the stultifying economic domination of an alien Lockon and totalitarian rule by the aliens' puppets. The Earth's first party. Now Earth is flying into galactic war. The Lockon star nations teeter on the edge of fractal meltdown, and a cable of ancient enemies hope to use Earth as a proxy to destroy the Lockon galactic order and rule a new galactic dark age. Final one. The Consuming Fire, John Scalzi. The interdependency humanity's interstellar empire is on the verge of collapse. The extra-dimensional conduit that makes travel between the stars possible is disappearing, leaving entire systems of human civilization stranded. Emprox Greyland II of the interdependency is ready to take desperate measures to help ensure the survival of billions. But arrayed before her are those who believe the collapse of the flow is a myth, or at least an opportunity to ascend to power. While Greyland prepares for disaster, others are preparing for a civil war. A war that will take place in the halls of power, the markets of business, and the altars of worship as much as it will amid space and battlefield. And that's the final one of the 12 I picked out to show you today. But please look forward to the sci-fi unboxing in a couple of months. And please tune in next week. Maybe I'll do some more. We did Force of Nature last week. We did Inheritance today. We'll do Parallels next week and the Pegasus after that. And if you could please like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And if you haven't watched the other 162 episodes, please go do that too. Thank you.